This is section 2.2. It's on analyzing conditional statements. This might seem like a weird lesson. It might seem like it's not related to math. It's going to seem a lot like an English lesson. But we're going to see a lot of conditional statements in our text about math, and we need to understand what they mean. Do they mean the same thing as something else? And so on and so forth. So what is a conditional statement? Well, it's a statement that has the word if and then in it. For example, if a number is even, then it is divisible by 2. That's a conditional statement. The part after if, that's called the hypothesis. And the part after then is called the conclusion. Notice how the word if is not in the hypothesis. If just points to where the hypothesis is. Then is not in the conclusion. It just tells you where it is. I use blue to highlight the hypothesis, and I used red to highlight the conclusion. We'll do that a lot in this section. Also, if you're working on a worksheet where it's already written out, your conditional statement, you can underline the hypothesis once and underline the conclusion twice. Sometimes you're going to see conditional statements stated differently. The one that we just looked at looked like this form 1. If hypothesis, then conclusion. You could also switch it. You could say the conclusion first, if hypothesis. Notice how we took the word then out. We stated the red first, if in the middle, finished with hypothesis. You could also take the word if and then out altogether. You could use words like all or every, state the hypothesis, state the conclusion. There's no if, there's no then. This is probably the trickiest thing that we're going to look at in this whole section. Using this template will help you. So here's a conditional statement. We want to rewrite it in if-then form. All birds have feathers. All birds have feathers. That's like the third statement. It doesn't have the word if or then in it. Could we make it have the word if or then in it? Here's an acceptable example. If it is a bird, then it has feathers. It didn't have the word if or then in it. We changed it so it did. Now that had nothing to do with math, but this one does. Two angles are supplementary if they are a linear pair. That's your definition of linear pair. Could you rewrite this in if-then form? Well, notice what this looks like. This looks exactly like statement 2, conclusion if hypothesis. So we need to switch it. We're going to put if first. They are a linear pair. Then two angles are supplementary. I'll use my colors to help you. Maybe. Maybe. So we're changing it to if blue, then red. Now, there's one other thing we could fix up here. If you leave it like this, you're not wrong. If they are a linear pair, then two angles are supplementary. But what I like to do is use the pronoun they second. What are they talking about when they say they? They're talking about two angles. After that, you can use the pronoun. If two angles are a linear pair, then they are supplementary. Let's try one without the color coding. If points are collinear, then they lie on the same line. Identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. You can do it by underlining the hypothesis once. I'm not sure how to underline in this mode, so I'm going to just change it to blue. Underline the conclusion twice. Again, I'm not sure how to do that, so I'm going to make it red. This is a quick way for me to identify hypothesis and conclusion. I didn't need to rewrite the whole thing. Okay, now they want you to write two other forms of this statement. So looking back at your template is a good idea. This is stated just like the first statement in the template, if blue, then red. Let's change it to the second form. We're going to say the red first. They lie on the same line. They lie on the same line. When we say they, what do we mean? Points lie on the same line. Put if in the middle. They are collinear. Finish with your blue. This statement, points lie on the same line, if they are collinear, means the same thing as this one, because you followed your template. Now we need to construct that same conditional to make it look like this third one. So we're going to say all or every blue, red. We're not using if or then. All collinear points lie on the same line. You might have noticed that I switched points are collinear with collinear points. That's not changing the meaning of anything. That's just making it make more sense in the way I have the sentence structured. These two statements mean exactly the same as this one, because I followed the template.